Hello and welcome. Today's a special day. I'm out with friends. We're actually in a Russian car museum. These are classics. And you can see we are out and about as a whole family, and you're coming with us. And by the way, behind us, we have a replica of the movie scene of Operation... I can't make that sound. We are posted up here. This is an amazing museum. Let's go. And if you didn't know, like I told you, this film is absolutely classic, and you guys should already know it if you're Russian. And if you don't know, please look it up. This movie is hilarious. Now, the reason why this is actually in the museum is because the car that they're using is a classic. In this museum, you get to see the name of the vehicle, and then it describes a little bit about it. This one's actually in English, so I'll read it. In fact, this vehicle is not a car, but a motorized wheelchair. So that's pretty funny. It's a motorized wheelchair, but you get all the information here. Now, the reason why I brought my friends is because I'm an American. I know nothing about these Russian cars, but I want you to pay close attention as they do look like they're American, because I have a suspicion that the Russians actually copied our cars. You're gonna have to decide for yourself. Let's go. All right, guys, let me know. Do you think that this Russian car looks a little bit like this 1956 Ford Fairlane? Or was this model trying to replicate the 1950s style Chevy Bel Air? This one actually looks like a Cadillac or a Bel Air, very high class. The Russians were building cars basically at the same time, but it feels like they're 10 years behind in each design, because something that looks like was made in the 1950s is actually made like in the 60s or the 70s. Here are some motorbikes. They look like American cop car motorbikes. I wonder why. By the way, guys, if you're from Russia, tell me if these cars are some of the cars that your grandparents drove or that your parents drove. I find it very interesting that not a lot of classic cars on the streets in Russia. They must all be in museums like these. Is anybody driving this around still in Russia? Right? This is super funny. Look at that little engine. Just like I said, guys, I brought some friends today, a real Russian who has actually an interesting story for us. Pavel, you were telling me that they actually made a car in your hometown.
Yeah, it's this 5. It's a car from my hometown. It is proud of my hometown because this car is standing on the central square of our city. It is a car produced in 1944 during Second World War, and plant for these cars was built during the war.
Okay.
People worked very hard, and they built this car, and they sent it to the war, for victory.
Yeah, guys, look, I've talked to you guys many times. It's not only cars, it's also clothes, but in Pavel's hometown, they built this machine, and it's so renowned in their area that it's in their center square, right? It's a monument to this vehicle. I actually have seen this a lot, and I've noticed when a certain city produces something, they're very proud of it. And thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you.
This is awesome. Now, talking about the war efforts that Pasha mentioned, yes, this museum also does have captured World War II equipment from the Germans, but viewer discretion is advised. There is also captured things from the most recent conflict. I will be showing you clips from what they have at this museum. If you don't want to see, I guess, machines that are rattled up with bullets, please skip. It was not only military equipment, by the way, that was captured. Here behind me, I don't know if you can read, but that says what?
Mariupolский transport.
All right, so it doesn't take scientists to understand that this was actually brought back from the Mariupol area. And it is a tram, so we're gonna show you what this is and what it looks like. This was some sort of transportation in that city. It has rounds all over it. It looks all beat up. So this is just something else that was brought back from the conflict zone. Now I want you to pay attention to this, guys. I want you to see that this is not your like typical caliber stuff. A lot of this can be bullet rounds. A lot of this can be shrapnel. I hope and pray that nobody was actually in this machine while it took this damage. All right, guys. Again, this is another piece of equipment that was captured or brought back. This is the emblem of Mariupol. Here you can see the anchor. Of course, it is a port city. Now, this machine looks to be like some sort of cleaner of the rails. On this side, it has maybe like some sort of broom, and it pushes things away. It can be some sort of cleaner. But I have to say, both of these machines are severely damaged, out of commission, and now out of the battle zone. And they're back here in Moscow. I also mentioned that I visited Patriot Park. This video is going to take me a little bit longer to produce, but I will show you a few more clips from Patriot Park. Just understand that this video is going to take me a while to produce because of the sentimental value and the, I guess, information that I want to give to the viewer. So here are some clips from the Patriot Park. And so the Taliban used the same rifle as the people in this war. These are 7.62 rounds. Whoever is in there survived. But what these type of vehicles don't survive are mines. This vehicle here is more like the MAT V that I used in Afghanistan. I mean, I'm not going to open it, but it seats your 4 people and then a machine gunner on the top. This is a British one. Now let's get back to the video to see really cool cars. Thank you so much. Behind me is an Alfa Romeo. This would be considered an exotic car to today's standards. These classics are also stored here. This was something I did not expect, but you know, the Russians have American tanks and also German tanks, so you can expect them to also house different types of cars from different countries. I hope you like cars because today you're going to see a lot of them. And this basically looks like any other museum in the United States. Really beautiful cars and all classics. This is a 3-story building where they house not only cars, they also have motorbikes like I showed you. They also have other types of gadgets. This is of one of 2 builds in the entire world. This is a German-made Horse. Now, it says Glazer here. An interesting fact about this, I was told that apparently the leader of the German naughty people was very fond of this particular vehicle. Again, there was only 2 made in the world, and one of them is sitting in Moscow. Now, I guarantee that you never expected to see a BMW the size of an elephant foot, but they have one here in the Moscow Museum. This is a BMW Isetta 250. This is a 3-wheeled vehicle. Look at 3 wheels. They have all sorts of cars in here, some cars that I've never seen in my life, and I'm telling you, I am an auto enthusiast. Ford Model T, guys. This is what I was looking for, something American. The reason why I was looking for something like this is because, you know, I'm more familiar with the American things, and I know that the Model T was, it's very famous in the United States. It's like the first vehicle mass-produced. You could have your Model T in any color as long as it's black. This one is not in black. I think this one had perhaps a different use, but it's beautiful nonetheless, and I really appreciate the fact that it's here in Moscow, because it's not only that European stuff, it's not only that Russian stuff, it's also something iconic like the Model T. Yes, so this Model T was actually some sort of traveling band, music maker, something for entertainment. By the way, let me know, do they have car museums in your city? Because I'm wondering if you guys' museum is this big. I've shown you already, we've shown you one level, now we're on the second level, and we're on our way to the third level. Now we're really getting into the goodies, because this is a Model A, guys. You know, the Model A was a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more modern. This is something that you would start seeing the stars using. Now you could really start seeing the color combinations. It is in black, it is in this turquoise dark color. This is where in America it started becoming car culture for the people. The Model A, an amazing vehicle. Look at that, guys. In America, Buick is a very luxurious car. You can tell the difference between a Buick and a Ford, because the Buick is going to have all the bells and whistles, and this car certainly does. Look at that grille. We're on the third level now, and on the third level we get to see a lot of motorcycles, a lot of random mopeds that you get to find in Russia. Now I'll tell you what, they look a little bit more flimsy than the ones in America, and I'm not trying to hate. The exotic bikes like these, the BMWs, are definitely better quality. But tell me, does your country have a culture of building motorcycles? Does your country have a culture of being good at building cars? And no museum in Russia is complete without captured German equipment and different German section. Here we have a bunch of radio operators from the German army, and in this corner you're going to get to see a lot of German equipment from the Second World War, or the Great Patriotic War here in Russia. There's even older airplanes hanging from the ceiling. Guys, you know, outside of this museum there's actually tanks and airplanes as well. I don't want to really keep showing you guys weapons and stuff like that, but look, you have a classic car here, and then there's a bunch of captured German tanks on the other side. All you have to do is pay entry to the museum and you can access all of that. All right, let's keep going. As far as the eye can see. And again, just to clarify, guys, outside of the car museum, there are also tanks. Of course, every Russian museum never lacks them. Russia is very notorious for being behind in technology, apparently, to the West. But a lot of the things that I've seen here from the 40s on to like the early 80s is at par with the Western vehicles, motorbikes, and airplanes. And you only notice it until you think about how many countries are actually producing airplanes since the 1930s, right? There's a lot of countries today that don't have air forces. There's a lot of countries today that would have a small military equipment compared to the captured things that they have even in a small museum in Moscow. You really have to think about that. There's countries out there that have absolutely no armor, no planes, no technology to build even the simplest of motorbikes in this museum. Apart from cars, airplanes, motorbikes, bicycles, the Soviets and the Russians were obviously capable of building things like cameras, like the ones we're using right now to record this video. Behind us, as you saw in the small clips, are historic USSR cameras, and maybe some of them could be Russian, but again, this museum has so many small, little random things that you can find that might interest you. Again, guys, please let me know down below if your country has a history of creating any of these things that we mentioned. I'm very curious, you know, because I'm tired of people saying that Russia has no technology and that we have to steal, I guess, washing machines and toilets. This is ridiculous. They really put everything on display here. You know, all of the jet engines and stuff like that, it's all on display here. And if you like museums, you already know this is the land of museums. There's an infinite amount of museums, from cars to, I mean, hunting to history to all sorts of stuff. All you gotta do is get that damn visa and come. Check it out, guys. This is a Cadillac, the pinnacle of American luxurious cars. But next to it is also a Rolls Royce and a Maybach. Look, this is the super duper elegant section. I bet your country don't have any of these in their museum. That's a challenge. I doubt it. I don't think they do. Yeah, another luxurious Cadillac. This one looked like the one from Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians. Now we know us Americans, we've made it to the moon, right? But does your country have the technology to even make it into outer space? Well, I'll tell you who has the technology. The Soviets had it, and the Russians surely do. Now, in all of my travels, I've been to Mongolia, I've been all over Russia. We see the mosaics of Yuri in the cosmonaut everywhere. We see statues. He's become one of my favorites of, I guess, of Russian history. Why? Because he makes you look into the future. When you see those statues, it makes you dream of things that you can make happen. And in this museum, I get that feeling, right? The Russians didn't have the best technology, but they were always looking into the future. I've told you already, some of the designs of these vehicles that we have around us are very American styled. And if to beat your competitor, you have to, if you can't beat them, you have to join them. That's the idea. Mimic them until you can defeat them. And I guess the Americans and the Russians have always had that history. It is something that I really, really pay attention to, not only in vehicles, but in the war stuff that we see, the war equipment. It all comes together. If you want to see other videos, we make this one, we make that one. You can watch them. Thank you so much for joining us today in this awesome museum, and we'll see you on the next one. And now it's time to take some photos of Ksenia. Again, her Instagram will be on the screen. You'll probably see these type of photos on her Instagram.